Hi, this is Lee Langdon. I'm the young adults minister at the Memorial Road Church of Christ in Edmond, Oklahoma, and we are starting something new, this podcast. This is the Young Adult World podcast, where we want to get to know each other better, build a community that really understands each other and hears each other's stories. And so today, for our very first podcast, we hear Jeff McKnight. He's one of our very own. Great guy, works really hard at what he does. We talk about scripture, we talk about video games. We just have a fun time chatting. So I hope you'll listen to the end, get to know Jeff. What a good time. Okay, let's jump in. Welcome to the Young Adult World podcast. Welcome to the Young Adult World podcast. Today we have Jeff McKnight. Jeff, hello.
Hello.
Man, so glad you're here. How fun.
Glad to be here.
This podcast is hopefully going to be an opportunity for our young adults, our 20s and 30s at Memorial, to discover more about each other. So that's really what it's about. And so as I ask you questions, I just want it to be what comes from your heart. Don't want it to be anything, nothing crazy, like nothing that pre-planned, just kind of, we're just having a conversation. Jeff, let's go back to the beginning, man. Where was Jeff McKnight born?
I was born in Shawnee General Hospital in Shawnee, Oklahoma.
Wow. But did you live in Shawnee?
No, my parents lived in Tecumseh, Oklahoma, which is about 30 minutes south, I believe, of Shawnee. That's where I spent my first 5 years of my life. Living was in Tecumseh, Oklahoma.
Cool.
And I hardly remember it.
I was going to ask you, do you have any memories of Tecumseh when you were...
We lived in two houses in those 5 years. The first house, I do not remember anything. On my first birthday, apparently my mom sprayed sunscreen in my eyes, but I only remember that because I think it's such a popular story in our family. It's just, those first 5 years are so hazy, blurry.
Yeah,
I remember our second house, though. At the end of the street, there was a empty field, and it was full of wild blackberries. So we'd go out there and pick those, and that was really fun.
And you, at some point, you got to Norman, right? You lived in Norman most of your life.
Yes. So my dad is a youth minister, was a youth minister for the longest time, and he got hired by the Westside Church of Christ in Norman, and he started there in 2000, so that's when we moved up to Norman.
I know your dad. He's a really good guy. He was in
I'll
youth
claim
ministry.
him.
Yeah, he was in youth ministry for a long time. That's awesome. I mean, he's a champion. What was it like for you being a son of a youth minister? How was that experience for you?
The only thing in my mind that I tell people was different is that I was at everything. I didn't necessarily have to be, but there was kind of a little bit of a pressure just to be at all the events, to be at church pretty much every time. But as far as other expectations, to me, that there wasn't really anything. Like my friends that I have, some of them from that time I still are my closest and best friends. We didn't treat each other any different in church or anything because I was a minister's kid and they weren't. A lot of people think that that's a thing, but in my experience, it was not at all.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Good. And you, tell me about your youth group. I'm just curious. So you were at the Westside Church of Christ in Norman, had a youth group. Describe that. Was it really active? Was it a fun place to be?
Yeah. I mean, it was a great youth group. There was, I believe when I was in it, there was 50 to 60 people that were, pretty active at most events and going to most things. So I'm like I said, some of my closest friends to this day, we were in youth group together. So
not everybody grows up in a youth group. So some of us didn't, some of us did. And I'm just curious, what would you say, thinking back on the events, what was a highlight? Maybe some incredible thing that you experienced in youth group. Can you think of anything that just kind of pops in your mind?
I think the obvious and probably what most people might say would be summer camp.
Right.
And I love summer camp.
Yeah.
It's great. But the funnest thing, the thing things that I remember most is every year in the summer, we would go to the Westview Boys Home down in Hollis, Oklahoma, and do just a short-term mission trip, and we would just help them do whatever they needed on. And it's kind of a ranch, and it's spread out. If you don't know about Hollis, Oklahoma, it's a very small town in southwest Oklahoma. There's a lot of farmland, a lot of just spread outedness, if that's a word, spread outedness.
I think it could be.
And there's a boys' home there, and they take in boys that have been kind of abandoned by their family, or their parents have died, or they just don't have a good home life. And actually, Memorial Road, I believe, helps support them as well. But we always went there on a mission trip and just did whatever repair jobs they needed to their campus area. And we did a lot of painting, did some like mowing, weed eating, some fence repair, some cleaning out of some old buildings they had. And we just had the time of our lives on those. It was very short. It was like a 3 day mission trip. And we'd always spend a little bit of time with the boys there and build relationships with them. And the good thing was we went back every year. And so it wasn't like a one and done thing that is not always that beneficial. We continued to build that relationship and continued to support that great ministry they do there in Hollis. One year we had the task of like cleaning out this basement of one of the homes, and they were wanting to, I can't remember what they wanted to turn it into, but I think they'd kind of been using it as a little workout space, and I think they wanted to update it. And it had they had found that there had been black mold in there, and so they'd sprayed all that, killed it, and we came in there to kind of like tear the rest of everything out. So we had to wear masks the whole time, and the main project was scraping up this old linoleum tile, and it was so painstaking because you just had to chip it away basically. But we just had the time of our lives. It doesn't seem that fun until you're with a group of guys and girls, but just that want to have fun and are just messing around while breaking up this tile. It was so fun.
And there is something about being with a group of teenagers, being with a group of people, but teenagers, and just, man, doing hard labor. I mean, it is fun. I've spent time chipping paint off of houses and working in homeless shelters and cleaning out trash cans, and you're just like, man, there's something about doing that kind of work together that's really special, and it sticks out. You remember it. You never forget.
Yeah.
That's cool you had those experiences. You were in high school. What high school did you go to?
Norman High School, the original high school of Norman.
Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Nice. Did you? What were you involved in high school?
I mean, the main extracurricular things was sports. I did tennis my 4 years there, and then my senior year I did cross country as well.
So an ex-tennis player, well, I imagine you still play occasionally, but I've noticed that there's like some people that play tennis, they like pickleball, some don't. Where do you fall in line with pickleball these days?
Oh man, it is kind of a touchy subject with tennis players for some reason. I don't fully know. I think it's that the popularity rose so fast. Here's the real thing, I think. Tennis players are pretty elitist, and pickleball is a little bit more of the common. It's for the commoners, if you will.
I'm a commoner. I love it. Okay, I got
you. It's probably just kind of a social status thing. I personally like pickleball fine. It's fun. I think it's fun. It's enjoyable to play.
I'm always curious about it. I didn't play tennis. Matter of fact, I didn't make the tennis team my 8th grade year and never looked back. Like I can play a little bit, but barely. There's probably a reason I didn't make it. So, man, so you were a Tiger, graduated high school what year?
2013.
Okay, and then you decided what was post high school for you?
Really, there was probably 3 options in my mind of what I was going to choose. And it was either Harding, Oklahoma Christian, or University of Oklahoma, being there in Norman. I didn't really want to go to OU, even though they're my favorite sports team. I love rooting for them. But a lot of people from my high school just go to OU, from Norman High, and even Norman North, I think.
Sure.
And I was just like, you know what? I've spent a good amount of time with you people. I'm ready to go somewhere new and see some new people. So I was kind of between, and I kind of wanted to go to a Christian school.
Hmm.
So I was between Harding and Oklahoma Christian. And my best friend, who's still my best friend, was at OC, and that just kind of drew me to Oklahoma Christian. And both my parents went there, so it was kind of, it just made sense.
Yeah, both really good options. You just had to
Yeah.
make a decision and
Yeah.
choose. Awesome. So, what were you hoping for in a Christian school? What would you say?
I don't know that, and I can't remember my line of thinking per se. I think that I just wanted to know for certain that Christianity would still be a part of my life. If I would have gone to a state school, I don't think, I'm not saying Christianity would have disappeared or I would have lost faith. I just think it would have been more difficult. However, if I would have stayed in Norman, it probably would have been okay because I could still have a church I would know to go to.
Yeah, man, that's a hard decision, especially growing up in Norman. Where do I go? Can I stay here in Norman and go to church where I've grown up and also go to college there? It's man, I think the biggest thing is trying to find that community, which you have here at the young adult community. How did you get to Memorial Road?
Because you could walk to it from OC.
Okay, there you go. Perfect.
So actually, I have a lot of family here, like surprising amount. My uncle goes here, and some of my cousins, they go here, and they actually started, I think, right about the same time I got to, maybe like the year before I got to OC. And then I have a lot of like second cousins that are here. Andy Lashley is my second cousin.
Andy is your second cousin?
Yes.
Wow.
He is. So his family being
That's
here,
cool.
I was like, I just know a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Aubrey Ross, who's Andy's sister,
Right. Yeah.
also second cousin.
Of course. Of course.
So them as well. I mean, just got a lot of family here, so it was an easy decision to make.
That's cool. I mean, Memorial is I think, a great place to land. Okay, so you're at OC. What did you study at OC?
So I decided I just wanted to go to college. I only wanted 4 years. I didn't want to go to post grad stuff. I need to find me a 4-year degree. And initially in high school, I was kind of thinking like, oh, I wanted to be a civil engineer or something along those lines. And then I took physics in high school, and I was like, I did fine in physics, but I just realized I don't think this is for me. So I decided that I would do accounting, just kind of out of the blue, because I was pretty good with money, and I just thought, this will be a good. And then it was 4 years. It was 4 years. That's the main thing.
Yeah.
You could get your degree 4 years and get a job.
Did you decide that before you entered OC, or did you decide that like after your freshman year? Or?
Before I entered,
Okay.
or like as I was entering.
So you went in, had something in mind, went all the way through and graduated with the degree you started.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yes.
That's awesome.
A little bit, I feel like, rare nowadays.
Yeah, people change a lot in college.
But I stuck with it just because, like I have said, like 3 or 4 times already, 4 years.
Yeah.
I wanted 4 years, and that was it.
So is that kind of your personality? Like, are you I've got this in mind, and I'm going to stick to it, and I'm going to do it? Like, is that kind of the way you are, or is that was kind of a one-off thing?
I would say that's pretty indicative of my personality. If I decide something, I'm going to go through with it to the best of my ability through completion. And I just kind of try to live that way, not make a decision and stick with it and not really have regrets.
Yeah.
So
when you become a believer in Christ, which you have, so I want to hear about that. That's a good mentality to have. I'm going to stick with it. So how did that come about? Tell me, obviously your dad was a minister, you grew up in the church, you had a lot of influence like that, but can you remember like that time when you decided and all that? Yeah, tell us about that.
Yeah, so I was 11, and I'd grown up going to church, done it my whole life. And I just remember around 11 years old, like maybe, actually, I was about to be 12. So in my 11th year, I just started thinking more about being a Christian and this religion of following Jesus. And I was like, I'm just going to commit to it. I'm going to, like, I don't see myself being not this. Like, I'm in this family that is this, and so I might as well like be on board with it and keep going with it. And so I just kind of made the decision, and I haven't really looked back since. Now, that's not to say that I haven't ever had doubts or haven't had problems with Christianity. I certainly have, and even right now, it's not always easy, not at all. But when I do have that stuff, I just look back and I'm like, okay, 11-year-old Jeff, still a kid, but he was like, he made this decision, so I'm going to trust that 11-year-old Jeff was, knowing what he wanted to do, and I'm going to stick with it.
You said a word that's huge when it comes to faith, trust. I mean, I think that's a huge theme of Scripture, is just trusting God. But there is some blinders. I think you could just put on blinders if, I'm just going to trust and just kind of move forward without really questioning anything. But it sounds like you've had some times where you've had some big questions. There seems like there's seasons in life where doubts arise or like waves of questions come. I remember in college I experienced some of that. I remember in my 20s I experienced some of that. When I hit 40, I had probably one of my biggest spells of big questions that I was asking. And it's hard. You've had some of that time where you've really questioned some things. What can you describe some of that?
Yeah, I would say up until college, I didn't really question anything. I was under my parents' roof, and I just was guided by them, and it was pretty easy to go with that flow. In college, I began to be able to, have to critical think about some things. I think OC just, at least when I was there, I thought their Bible program was phenomenal. There's classes that everyone enrolled at OC has to take. I wanted to take more. I like the scholarly side of Bible stuff. So I tried to pick out those classes, and I ended up getting I have a Bible minor as well. So accounting major, Bible minor. That led me to just really diving into some of the scholarly stuff about the Bible and what scholars think and how there's different arguments and opinions about certain things. And I remember like the first year or two after college, I just felt like a lot of things in my mind about how I viewed the Bible and Christianity were changing. And there was a lot of uncertainty, and it kind of felt wrong just because of how I'd kind of been brought up. And if you know me at all, the Bema podcast has been pretty influential for me.
The depths of insight that they bring from a Jewish perspective that you wouldn't, like I didn't get that growing up. I didn't really hear that even at Harding when I was at Harding. And they really help you go deeper in the meaning behind some of these Old Testament texts and connect a lot of dots from the Old Testament to the New Testament. It's very helpful. I agree.
And one of the greatest things I think I learned from them is that it's okay to wrestle with stuff. In fact, it's encouraged to not know everything and to wrestle. And so I probably figured that out from them, probably about 2 years after college. And since then, the things that I am unsure about has only grown. But I'm okay with it because I now know that it's okay to wrestle with this stuff. It's okay to not know. And I'm a guy that loves to know stuff. And I mean, the best thing to me about it is, and they say this multiple times, they care about the text. What is in the text? And so I think some people that try to listen to it get frustrated that they're not always addressing some of the current problems and current dilemmas. But their goal is, hey, we're addressing the text, then you use that to decide how you want to handle some of the current event stuff.
Man, the older I get, the bigger God gets in my mind. Like I feel like the more I learn about him, the more I realize I don't know about him. When I think about the universe and all of the galaxies, the billions of galaxies that they're discovering now and how big that is, I think that just makes, in my mind, it just makes God so much bigger, just, in the physical sense, but then really when I'm trying to understand Scripture and I'm trying to really dig deeper, I realize, man, there is more and more grace. There's more and more of God and mystery to what He's doing, and understanding that I just don't understand. And I've come to realize that there's a lot of peace. There's a lot of peace in letting go of things that I can't understand and just trusting that He has it. And I don't think it's a crutch. It's not a crutch. It's more of realizing that I'm man and I'm not God.
Right.
I'm curious what you think are, maybe you think of one issue that young adults wrestle with these days. That you guys start your new jobs, you graduate from college, many of you, or you don't go to college, you just kind of work through those years and you're kind of building a career, you're starting a lot of things. People get married, they start having kids. There's so much transition. I'm just curious, what pops out to you? What's an issue maybe that you think young adults really wrestle with?
I think what I see is, and this is actually going to be, this is truly off the cuff, ladies and gentlemen, listening to this, because I did read that question before, and I kind of formulated an answer, but as you were asking it, I've thought of something else.
Yeah, go for it.
So I just was thinking while you're asking that, I think that a big problem is just people trying to find their place. Like, that's kind of what the young adults that I'm around, and even myself, like, we're trying to find our place in the church, but also in life, just in anything. I think a lot of people that are trying to be plugged in at church, that's them finding their place. I think there's, at least what I see online, there's like a lot of this maybe pressure and some, I don't know if resentment is the right word, but just maybe an unfavorable look from like people older than us and in older generations, because a lot of us seem so unable to find our place, and that doesn't help. It kind of makes things harder. And I'm not saying I haven't found my place. I think I found a great place here at Memorial Road, but I just think in general, young adults, that's a big thing they struggle with.
Yeah, I mean, you go from feeling like, I mean, especially if you go to college, you kind of know your parameters when you're in college, and you graduate, you feel really successful. Then you get into this work world, and it feels like the boundaries are off now, and all of a sudden everything's wide open, and the world seems so big, and you don't have kind of the normal club things you're a part of, or you don't have the normal groups that you're going to, or the people that you're around every day. You don't see them in classes, and so everything changes. I can see why finding your place would be tricky. And then I've actually seen a lot of young adults get their first job, and then they're like, I don't really like this job. So now I feel like I've done all this time preparing for this job that I don't even like.
Yeah,
that's tricky. And then so I guess in respect to trying to find your place, I think even if you get even to that situation, now they're really struggling with that. How have you tried to find that place, or have some success there, or how have you faced that issue?
I don't really know. I think I just kind of stick to my morals and my philosophy on life, and like I said earlier, it served me well. It almost feels natural, like it just kind of happens. But also, I would say, and I don't know how I've done this either, it's got to be just from my upbringing as a Christian and having spiritual roots, but I kind of feel okay just even floating around, not necessarily knowing, like, not, even though I love knowledge so much and I want to know, there's an element of Christianity that you just can never know.
Yeah.
Like God, even though I know a lot about God, there's things about him we will never know until, eternity or whatever. I think that helps you be able to float around a little bit, not knowing in real life, and you can eventually you find your place, and it just almost happens naturally. So I think you have to be able to be okay with the unknown, which is super, super hard. And I'm not saying I'm perfect or the best at it.
A couple of things I would encourage you with. Man, I know that this church is behind you. Like, we love you, and you've got a lot of support that's behind you, and there's that. So, and I think the other thing that's probably even much bigger than that is that God is with you, and through all of these crazy trials and trying to figure out where you are at, God is right there with you in the midst of all of that. And it's easy, I think, to kind of try to forget, or kind of navigate things on our own and wait for a response from a boss, or or from this job place over here. I've applied over here and I'm waiting for them to get back to me, and all those kinds of things are always just kind of spinning. And it's easy for us to forget that God is in the middle of all that and He's with us in it. That's a big confidence booster for me. I mean, even at my age, I still have times where I'm like low in confidence level and struggling, like I can't even do this. And it's always when I'm finally turning it over to God and saying, God, I've forgotten almost. I've forgotten, your role in all of this. I got to remember all of this. I've been reading Joseph just in the last couple of days, the story of Joseph again. His faith is profound because it's like he's always got this perspective of, well, God's in this. I mean, here's a guy that's been thrown down into a cistern all by himself. His brothers are selling him off to Egypt and, to the Pharaoh. But he's in distress. It even says as he's crying out, like they didn't listen to him as he was crying out for their help. But then he has this perspective of the God's working in all of this stuff, and he's always referring to God.
And I love at the end when his brothers are so worried that their father Jacob has died, and they're like, "Oh, Joseph's gonna take it out on us now that Dad is gone." But no, Joseph says, "Whatever you meant it for bad, for ill, but the Lord meant it for good."
Yeah.
And just to have that kind of faith in God, I mean, it's crazy to me, but it's so, I love that line in Genesis, because like there's things that are going to come at you and people are going to mean them to harm you, but God means it for good.
A couple speed rounds. What would you prefer, either mountain or beach?
Mountain. Yeah, I love skiing.
Yeah.
I'm going in March. It's
nice. Do you have a favorite hill? I mean,
resort? I grew up skiing Wolf Creek in southern Colorado, but recently I've been skiing in Utah, and Utah skiing is so great.
That's what I've heard.
It's so great.
Awesome. Chocolate or candy?
That one's tough. I love both. I mean, who doesn't love both, right? A little bit of sugar. I think I will have to go with candy, but sour candy specifically.
Okay.
There's a candy called Sour Strips.
Okay.
Those are my favorite candy right now.
Nice.
They're phenomenal.
Man, do you know those gummy, like the gummy nerd things, the clusters?
Those gummy nerd clusters are probably number 3 on my list. They're so good.
They're so good.
It's a great candy.
Lord of the Rings or rom-com?
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings. You got a favorite one?
I love Return of the King.
Okay.
I love the third pieces in trilogies. I love episode 6 of Star Wars the most, probably. I love Return of the King the most.
Would you rather go out or would you rather stay home?
That's tough. It depends on my mood.
Okay.
I'd probably lean stay home.
Okay.
But I like going out. I don't know. That's a tough one.
I'm always searching for the best slice of pizza in Oklahoma City. What would you recommend?
Best pizza, very easy for me, Hall's. I think 9 out of 10 people would say Hall's is the best in Oklahoma City, and I agree.
Okay, so on Sunday mornings, Jeff is in Dwell. If you'd like to visit Dwell, make sure you find Jeff, introduce yourself. Guys, this has been so fun. Thanks so much for talking. Good conversation, man. Great to be with you. Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for joining us today. I hope this conversation was meaningful to you. Come find us on Instagram. Our profile is Young Adult World Podcast. Tell us what you connected with during our podcast today. This podcast is part of the Young Adult Ministry at the Memorial Road Church of Christ in Edmond, Oklahoma. Come join us sometime. There's plenty of room for everyone. If you want to reach out to us, don't hesitate to email us at youngadultworldpodcast@gmail.com. And we are so grateful for Jacob Staten. Jacob is a young adult who edits this podcast for us and keeps this thing going. So thanks, Jacob. Okay, guys, see you next time for another Young Adult World conversation.